another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mythic Legions Exiles from Under the Mountain. Once again, huge thank you to Brent Rager for letting me borrow these figures. I also have his Manisha Cinderhorn, so I should be able to get that review up fairly quickly. And then after that, it's sort of just kind of waiting for my all-in to ship. If you're not aware, the all-ins are delayed, and then any of the orders with the bear or the big ogre scale minotaur type figure, like those are also delayed, but they're at port, so like it's just a matter of them clearing customs and then getting here. So they could show up this week, they could show up next week, but probably not too much longer after that. And then the retail stuff will probably start shipping mid to late March, I would guess. It's going to take a little while for them to get all these out there. Anyway, let's get into this review. Okay, let's take a look at the female dwarf, which does come with two different head sculpts. This one is awesome. She's definitely got like kind of like that shortened sort of like dwarf-like quality to her face. It's not just another random female head placed on a dwarf. Like when they do their dwarf heads, they have a certain stout dwarf quality to them, which I think this captures. And I think this is supposed to be Dagna Stormforger, Ragna's sister, I believe. So some lore connections there. But I do really like the ornamentation on the head here. The eyes, those green eyes, look fantastic. We've got, similar to Nieve, we've got a bunch of braids and things in the hair. But I don't think this hair sculpt is as good as Nieve's. This one feels a little bit flatter, not quite as like sharp and crisp as that Nieve little strands of hair, but still looks pretty good. I think maybe just like a wash might have improved it a little bit more. But yeah, so pretty quality head sculpt here. We do have this cloth piece that has a little extra ornament on there, and I think it might be metal. If you look at the back, I don't know if this like is a pin that can separate. Like I wasn't able to kind of pull it apart. I'm not sure what is up with that. When I get my own figure, I'll yank that thing apart. But this being Brent's, it didn't pop off super easy, so I'm not gonna mess with it too much. I'm sure somebody in the Mythic Legions Cabal will figure it out. And then we have the torso underneath here, which is reminiscent of the 2.0 torso from Artemis Silvercord and some other figures. And that looks pretty good. And I did swap it onto Nieve, and it works as a non-dwarf. Like this torso is compatible with, like all the dwarves, this one's compatible with dwarf and non-dwarf alike. This belt right here is an extra piece that comes separate in the box. You have to pop the torso off, heat it up first, of course, pop the torso off, and then you can slide this over the waist. And then you have another belt that goes over the top of the sort of skirt piece. And I love all this right here. It feels, unlike some of the earlier dwarves, this stuff feels very dwarf specific. It feels very much like dwarven craftsmanship and those kinds of like hard angles and geometric patterns and things that you kind of associate with dwarves, especially like when you see like Lord of the Rings movies and stuff in the way they're depicted there. But yeah, that skirt's fantastic. She also has the cover for the butt like Nieve. So it's sort of like this metallic piece there. And then kind of coming back up to the arms. These are the same arms as Nieve. These are the 1.0 female arms, a lot of like muscle definition in there. And then we have dwarven cuffs at the wrist. So this is the thing that kind of shortens these arms, even though these are, arms that can be used with like a human or an elf. They also can be used with a dwarf if you use the shorter cuff here that kind of like shortens the total length of the arms, and those got like some little leather details over on the side here. And then we have the new legs that we actually saw first with the Mouse King Figura Obscura figure. So we've got new dwarven upper thighs that are like shorter. And then we have new dwarven lower legs here. Again, continuing that same kind of dwarven, I don't know, like just iconography throughout there with some leather look in the back there. A nice deep cut so that it helps with articulation. And then we have leather boots that I think are also new, or the shoe part of the boot. I think these are also new on these dwarves, if I'm not mistaken, or I, I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comments. Are these brand new? I can't remember if these came with something else before. We should also be shouting out the Kings Under the Mountain Facebook group, who get a lot of love in this wave. So Anthony, Chris, and Kevin are all sort of name dropped among the characters that are associated with the Exiles Under the Mountain in lore. So that's a pretty cool nod. If you're not aware, the Kings Under the Mountain is the dwarf specific Facebook group that is dedicated to dwarf customs and all things dwarf action figures. But yeah, so here's a look at this guy who I think this is Anton. I'm not entirely sure if he has a name or if those are just kind of like name drops as like those are some of the exiles. But yeah, pretty cool brand new head sculpt here. Got that beard with all the braids, little ornamentation things there, and bald head. Again, that kind of stockier, more stout proportions. When you get over here with the neck, you can get a little bit of, seeing some of the neck and stuff, but he does come with a cloak, so there's a lot of ways to sort of cover that up, as well as the shoulder pauldrons. Another new torso here, sort of leather quilted torso. There again, a few little things like that right there just scream dwarf to me. Got some stitching in the front, little paint miss right there. You kind of see that one. It's painted over off to the side, but not too bad. And just kind of a look at that whole thing right there. These are the same cloth arms we've been getting since the Alithia wave. We do have some new lower arms here with, again, some more very dwarf looking kind of sculpture over here. Same with these hands right here. Now, the solicitation showed that it had 2 sets of hands per figure, but these actually came with just 1 set each. So I think maybe there might have been something miscommunication along the way, and those didn't get put in there, because I haven't seen anybody who received those hands, and there's not like a spot in the clamshell for an extra set of hands. This over the top belt piece was also on the Mouse King. And then we have the new quilted lower piece here. Got a little bit of like some chainmail in the middle there. Some like leather strap details painted in here. And there's a look around the back. But yeah, I do really like that belt. Also very, just everything about these just feel very specific for dwarves. It does have a sculpted loincloth here, whereas she has the the cloth goods loincloth. And I at first thought this was the same as all the other ones that we've seen, but I think this is different. This is a longer piece. If you it's hard to show it here, but this is a different one than what we've seen on some of the other figures. He's also got those sculpted cloth new legs that are specific for dwarf or shorter characters. And then he has these boots, same upper part of the boot, or like the lower leg here is the same as the female figure, just painted differently. And then also the same as the Mouse King. And then new shoes, or like, new lower part of the boot here, which match it really nicely. Zooming out, here's a look at the overall shape and proportions of the 2 dwarves. The female is slightly taller. It might be the neck. It might be the torso. I think maybe the torso might be a little bit longer than the male one, but they're very close in size either way. And for height, they come in about 6 3/4 inches tall. For comparisons, here we have a couple shorter Mythic Legions figures. On the left is a 2.0 figure, a goblin. That is Noobnik, best goblin in my opinion. And then on the right is both our Shadowhorn, and you can see fits right in size-wise with these other dwarves. And then we have some standard size Mythic Legions figures. On the left is Gideon Heavensbrand, action figure of the year 2025. And then on the right, we have Nieve, who is very tall. She is pretty much as tall, if not taller, than your standard 1.0 knights and so on. Here they are next to a couple NECA D&D figures, Elkhorn on the left, Warduke on the right, Mezco 112 Collective Conan figures, Savage Crucible on the left, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom on the right, and Marvel Legends, Deadpool, and Spider-Man. Moving on to accessories, I did want to share that this is a pretty cool fur cloth goods piece right here that just kind of is a ring around her neck. And then again, this little piece in here is a sculpted piece, and there's a backer to it. And again, I tried separating them, but not my figure, so I'm not going to like yank too hard. I want to keep that intact because I don't want to break something that doesn't belong to me. And of course, they do come with some pieces on them. Like I do have the belt here. That is a separate accessory piece right there. And then this belt is separate too. You could have her with or without it. And then he's also got that piece over the top of the belt. So I would consider those accessories that you could totally mix and match and change and swap around and try different looks. I wanted to talk about the necks. So the necks that came on the figures are these two with the hinges, and they're a little bit taller. And then there's also a pair of very short necks, which I believe are more for the helmeted heads to like kind of lower that a little bit down. So I'm going to try them out on the figures now. Here is the female body with the shorter neck and the helmeted head on there. Now, you do lose the hinge when you go down to this neck, but the proportions look much better in terms of like if you put that longer neck and then this helmeted head on there, it just does not look right. Okay, for the alternate heads with the different necks, so you do lose the hinge when you put this on, but I just think the proportions look much better. That head is a lot lower, sits on that body more naturally in terms of like dwarf stockiness. This is a great head sculpt. I do really like it. I think I prefer the other one, but this is a lot of fun as well. And it does come with these helmet attachments that you can swap out. And so I put that on the female, and I put these, the blades on the female, and then these horns on the male for now. I do love this helmet here. This thing screams dwarven metal smithing right here. Like, that is fantastic. I love that head, and I definitely want to like find a good spot, like a good home for it, like a fully armored dwarf. Like, I kind of was thinking it could maybe be him, but we need something with more gold than that copper kind of look. But it'll find a home, or I'll find a kit bash that works with it. We'll see what we can do in the kit bash section. But yeah, looks really good. And again, that is the lower, smaller, shorter neck. Does come with a fantastic cloth goods cape here. It's got, not only does it have wires all along every edge, but it's also got a wire on the hood, which, that would be expected. And it has a wire around the collar here. So there's a lot of good posability in this cape. The wires feel stiffer, which was a complaint I've had on some of the figures where they were just not quite holding the pose enough. But this cape is awesome, and there's going to be some really cool things people do with this one. The 2-pack comes with 2 sets of pauldrons, one for each figure, but you could mix and match however you want. They look fantastic. These are like a little bit smaller than the other pair, and then the other pair are these that are a little bit chunkier. And so like they kind of, for me, it's like these are the ones that would go on the guy, and then the others would go on the female figure. But pretty cool stuff there. A lot of golds and again, very dwarf like qualities. A couple non-weapon accessories. It does come with a torch that has a separate flame piece that you can take on and off. It's in there pretty good, but it does pop out. So you have that flame piece, and you could have an unlit torch, and then you could have that flame which has translucent color to it. So it'll catch the light very nicely. It does come with a horn, so you could kind of like pose your figure sort of blowing the horn of battle. It's got I believe it's a bear mouthpiece at the bottom there in a metallic gold, and then there's a rim on the top. There's some inscription around the edge, like decorative, and you can't, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but there, I think you can see it there, where the paint transitions from darker color. It has that just like kind of horn-like quality with the paint transition and the kind of coloring of it all. So this is a beautiful piece. It actually came out really nicely. Comes with this decorative ring that you can hang on the belt. I've seen things like this as armbands before. This is too big to be an armband on a figure like this. I'm not sure what the creatures are on the ends. I think I've typically seen something like this with snakes on the ends, but these are wolves or something. Or maybe they're dragons. They're probably dragons, right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what these are. What do you think those are on the ends there? But pretty cool piece, very pliable. You can kind of put it through a belt loop and have it hanging off of one of the belts. For weapons, they come with a pair of axes. These are pretty long-handled axes, and they have nice wrap details, a lot of different colors painted on here. The larger axe with the gold blade actually does have the removable handle here, so you can mix and match that with other pieces. And then this one is just one solid piece. I don't think anything comes off here, but they're very similar, just different sizes and different styles. But you know, kind of cool. I mean, in the Nieve had an axe as well, right? So it's at least 3 axes in this wave that are brand new. Also comes with a dwarven short sword. And again, Nieve came with a longer version of a sword similar to this one. This kind of reminds me of like a Roman gladius, but very cool piece here. It does come with a scabbard for the sword, and the sword fits in nicely. It's a little loose, but I would rather it be loose than too tight, because when these are too tight, they tend to like break off. But you got a nice little blue gem in there. It does utilize a metal ring to attach it. In fact, it came attached to this belt right here via the metal ring. I kind of prefer not having the metal ring, maybe just having like a different kind of loop or something. But the thing it does is it allows it to hang a little more naturally. So, you know, it does have its benefits. It's just, I prefer something using plastic in terms of like attachments like that, because having to sort of like get out some pliers and kind of like carefully bend it, it's a little work, but it's doable. And then we have a hammer here, which is a nice update to get like a kind of like a tighter, more properly sized hammer than those old original 1.0 Mythic Legions hammers. This one does also have the handle, so you could, I guess you could take this handle and switch it out with this this right here, and you could have this axe instead if you wanted with this handle. And finally, we have a dwarven shield. Very cool piece here. Nice metallics going on. A lot of cool sculpted details. A lot of variety of textures. There's a look at the back. It kind of looks like it has the shape of the middle piece that can pop out, but I can't get that out. I don't think that's a separate piece. I just think that's the sculpture. And then we have the typical hand-held handle here. Great shield. Love this one. All right, for articulation, I'm probably going to show you the articulation on the female because this is a little more familiar. It's got the arms that have been around for a little while, and this has new arms. So I'm just going to show you this because otherwise I think they're pretty much the same articulation. They have the same legs, the same type of waist. And then if you were to put the hinged neck on there, you get a lot more range too. But that's more appropriate for the other head sculpts. So let's take a look at her articulation. She does have a ball jointed neck. Again, with the hinge, it would change things up a little bit, how that moves around. Her arms can swing just about even out to the side there on that hinge, and then they can swing all the way around, but they have to move out of the way of that little shoulder piece there. And you have a single jointed elbow that comes up just a little past 90 degrees here. There's a twist above the elbow, a twist at the forearm, twist at the wrist, hinge at the wrist. Again, seem to be missing those second set of hands. I assume they would have been the vertical hinged hands. Ball jointed waist, a lot of great motion in there. And then we have the hips that can kick out to here. They can go back a little bit. That gets in the way slightly. They can go out into the splits. You know, this skirt piece is pretty intense, so that's going to prevent some of that motion. There's a twist at the top of the thigh. There is a hinge at the knee that takes the kick back about this far, and then you can twist below the knee, and then you have a hinge, twist, and rocker at the ankle. Okay, one pop and swap for you here today, but it's a good one. I put a lot of thought into this. I really wanted to armor up a dwarf so that it's like a dwarven sentry guarding the kingdom and utilize that helmeted head sculpt that I think is the highlight of the set. I love that helmet. And so starting at the top, I used the silver horns that are from the Krona figure, the Trapjaw tribute. And then the chest is from Vorthog, the orc, which is not exact, but it's pretty close and it looks really good. And that chest is like the gift that keeps on giving. The upper arms are from the Templar, the version with the extra gold accents painted on. And then you have the loincloth from the legendary barbarian. If you kind of look, it matches up perfectly with the way this skirt piece sits. So, I mean, this is just fantastic. It's sort of like your tank, your heavy armored dwarf. I love this, and I want to find a way to. It's a tough one to pull together, but I want to find a way to have one just like this on my shelf. That'll do it for this review. The Exile Dwarves, a lot of great new parts, including this awesome head sculpt. So good. I love this piece. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you.